Hello everyone, this is Team Homeopathy MCQs. Today we are discussing on the second part of the different editions of Organon. Yesterday we had discussed about the definition of Organon, the word meaning of Organon of medicine, what is the word meaning of Organon, and about the history of Organon of medicine, the precursors of Organon, and important works of Dr. Henneman. We also discussed about the different editions of the organon in detail. We also discussed about the importance of organon, what is the definition and the aim and object of the organon, and the different editions of the organon in detail. After that, we have discussed a keynote study on different editions of organon of medicine. So, in this lecture, we discussed all the important points in detail about the different editions of the organon. Today we will discuss about the important points for various competitive exams in homeopathy, about the different editions of the organon. So first of all, we all must know about the word meaning of organon. These points are very important for the various competitive exams in homeopathy. So everyone must note down the important points. We have collected all these important points from the different books and the other sources. First of all, we will discuss about the word meaning of organon. So, Greek derivation of the word organum. Lord Bacon's Novum Organum. So the word organon is taken from the Greek word organum. Lord Bacon wrote a book, Novum Organum. So the organon means the literary work, a method of scientific investigation, instrument of thought, and system of logic. So these are the word meanings of organon. Again, we will discuss about the precursors of organon. In 1796, an essay on a new principle of ascertaining the curative powers of drug, and the second book, Medicine of Experience, published in 1805. These are the main precursors of organon. Now we will discuss about the first edition. First edition published in 1810. The title was Organon of Rational Healing Art. On the cover page, 4 lines of Gerlach's poem were quoted. Text, no in health, that is, the content or text introduction is not given. So in this edition, no index was given. 64 paragraphs and 1 footnote was given. The paragraphs were not numbered. Aphorism, there were 271 aphorisms. Footnotes were not numbered. They appeared at the end of the aphorism and were denoted by A and M and Markung, which means footnote or remark. Translation. In 1913, English translation by Dr. C. E. Wheeler, and in 2003, English translation by Mahendra Singh. Novelties of this edition were antipathic axion in paragraph 47 and homeopathic axion in paragraph 64. So these are the important points about the first edition of organon. Now we will discuss about the second edition of Organon. It was published in 1819. The title was Organon der Helikunst. From the title, the word Rationalen was removed. Helikunde was replaced by Helikunst. German poet Geller's poem of 4 lines in the first edition was removed and instead was printed Latin word Ado Sapere, motto of Princess School. This was printed in the first page in the place of Geller's poem. Text in health, that is, the content or text was introduced in this edition. सेकेंड एडिशन में जो इंडेक्स है वो दी गई थी. इंट्रोडक्शन, इट हैज 70 पैराग्राफ्स एंड 168 footnotes. Aphorisms, 318 aphorisms. There were no aphorism numbering of 216, 217 and 218. Actually, there were only 315 aphorisms. So 3 aphorisms were missing in this edition. What about the novelties? Novelties footnotes appeared at the bottom of the page and were marked by asterisks and crosses, star mark and the cross marks. So these are the novelties of the second edition of Organon. Now we will discuss about the translations. In 1824, French translation by Dr. A.G. Bernau. In 2003, English translation by Dr. Mahendra Singh. Introduction, it had 70 paragraphs and 268 footnotes. It was divided into 3 chapters. First 1 to 52, second 53 to 60, and the third 61 to 70. The end of the chapter was indicated by a closing line. So these are the very important points about the second edition of the Organon. These all important points were asked in the previous question papers. So we took all the important points for the competitive exams of the homeopathy. Third edition was published in 1824. Title, Organon of Healing Art. Text in health or text contained 12 pages. In health means there was the numbering or the index, and it contained 12 pages. Now we will discuss about the introduction of third edition. It had 70 paragraphs and 266 footnotes. It was divided into 3 chapters. First 1 to 53, second 53 to 61, third from 62 to 70. Now the aphorisms. There were 320 aphorisms in third edition. Its footnotes were marked by numbers. There were no aphorisms numbering 216, 17 and 18. So these same mistakes again in the third edition, same as the second edition. The wrong numbering of the aphorism 216, 17 and 18. So these 3 aphorisms were missed in third edition of Organon. There were 2 new aphorisms, aphorism 319 and 320, and the second editions aphorism 108b and aphorism 167b. So these were the additional aphorisms in this third edition of Organon. So sometimes the question asked about these new additions of aphorisms. So this is a very important point for exam point of view. Now we will discuss about the novelties. Aphorism 319 and 320 dealing with mesmerism were added. Now the translations. In 1832, French translation by E. G. Bernau, and in 2003, English translation by Mahendra Singh. Now we will discuss about the fourth edition of Organon. It was published in 1829. The title was the same, Organ of Healing Art. Text inhalt meaning index was present or text contained 10 pages. In third edition, text contained the 12 pages, and in fourth edition, text contained the 10 pages. After the text, a catalogue of book of 2 pages printed. Aphorisms. There were 292 aphorisms. Its footnotes were numbered separately on each page from 1 onwards. Introduction. It had 138 paragraphs. It was divided into two parts. Part 1, 66 paragraphs. Chapter 1, para 1 to 6. Chapter 2, para 7 to 9. Chapter 3, para 10 to 21. Chapter 4, para 22 to 33. Chapter 5, from para 34 to 48. Chapter 6, from para 49 to 50. Chapter 7, from para 51 to 57. And chapter 8, from para 58 to 66. Now, part 2 from 72 paragraphs, divided into 3 chapters. Chapter 1 from para 1 to 55, chapter 2 from para 56 to 63, and chapter 3 from para 64 to 72. Now we will discuss about the novelties of 4th edition of Organon. So the theory of chronic diseases were introduced. Introduction was divided into the 2 parts. One deals with the fundamental defects of allopathic system, and second contain examples of homeopathic cure. तो ये आप लोगों को हमेशा याद रखना है कि थ्योरी ऑफ क्रोनिक डिसीज 4th एडिशन ऑफ ऑर्गनन में दी गई थी, और एलोपैथिक सिस्टम के बारे में जो डॉक्टर हेनीमैन ने बताया था वो 4th एडिशन ऑफ ऑर्गनन में दिया गया। Now the translation. In 1832, the French translation by E. G. Bernau. In 1833, first English translation by C. H. Devrient, and in 2003, second English translation by Mahendra Singh. So these were the translations of 4th edition of Organon. Now we will discuss about the 5th edition of Organon. It was published in year 1833. Title was the same. Text, it also have the index, means the inhalt, was followed by 2 pages of catalogue. Now aphorisms. There were 294 aphorisms. 294 aphorisms. Footnotes are numbered serially as 1, 2, and 3, etc. for each pages. Introduction. There were 99 paragraphs. It was divided into 12 chapters. Chapter 1 from para 1 to 8. Chapter 2 from para 9 to 11. Chapter 3 from para 12 to 24. Chapter 4 from para 25 to 36. Chapter 5 from para 37 to 52. Again, the chapter 6 from para 53 to 54, chapter 7 from para 55 to 61, chapter 8 from para 62 to 65, chapter 9 from para 66 to 77, chapter 10 from para 78 to 82, chapter 11 from para 83 to 90, chapter 12 from para 91 to 99. So these were the 12 chapters of 5th edition of Organon. Now we will discuss about the novelties. The doctrine of vital force, method of drug dynamization were introduced in 5th edition of Organon. Again, translations. English translation were done by in 1839 by Hearings Academy, in 1849 by Dr. R. E. Durgan, in 1876 by C. Wesselhoft, in 1889 by B. Frink. Now we will discuss about the errors. In footnote of aphorism 117, Master mentions Emperor Alexius as the brother of Princess Maria. It was wrong that Alexius was her father. Now we will discuss about the sixth edition of Organon. Sixth edition of Organon was published in year 1921. Title was the same. The word Ade Sapere was wrongly removed from the cover page and put on the top of the publisher's content. In health was removed by the publishers. इसमें इंडेक्स पब्लिशर्स के द्वारा हटा ली गई थी. तो सिक्स एडिशन में इंडेक्स नहीं है, ये भी ध्यान रखना है, और फर्स्ट एडिशन में इंडेक्स नहीं. एफ्रिजम्स, देयर वर 291 एफ्रिजम्स. इंट्रोडक्शन, देयर वर 99 पैरास. It was divided into 12 chapters. Chapter 1 from para 1 to 8, Chapter 2 from para 9 to 11, Chapter 3 from para 12 to 24, Chapter 4 from para 25 to 36, Chapter 5 from para 37 to 52, Chapter 6 from para 53 to 54, Chapter 8 from Chapter 7 from 55 to 61, Chapter 8 from para 62 to 65, Chapter 9 from para 66 to 77, Chapter 10 from para 78 to 82, and Chapter 11 from para 83 to 90, and the last Chapter 12 from para 91 to 99. Chapters were separated from each other by a closing line. एक चैप्टर दूसरे चैप्टर से एक क्लोजिंग लाइन के द्वारा सेपरेट किए गए थे. इसमें नोवेल्टीज क्या हैं? द वर्ड वाइटल फोर्स वाज रिप्लेस्ड बाय वाइटल प्रिंसिपल. ये याद रखना है कि वाइटल प्रिंसिपल वर्ड वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन सिक्स्थ एडिशन ऑफ ऑर्गेनम, और वाइटल फोर्स वाज रिमूव्ड in this edition, sixth edition of Organon. Second novelty is the 50 millisimal scale was introduced. Now we will discuss about the translations. Its English translation were done by first in 1922 by Dr. William Borick, in 1996 by Stephen Decker. Errors. So what are the errors of the sixth edition of Organon? Dr. Borick copied Durgan's every year in translation. Example errors in aphorism 117. तो इस एडिशन की जो एरर है वो ये है कि डॉक्टर बोरिक ने डुर्गन्स का जो ट्रांसलेशन था उसको पूरा का पूरा कॉपी किया है. तो ये हमने अभी आपको बताए हैं. ऑल 6 एडिशंस ऑफ ऑर्गनॉन के इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स। ये पॉइंट्स बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन पेपर से लिए गए हैं, ये आपको सभी याद रखना है। इनमें से क्वेश्चंस अक्सर पूछे जाते हैं। अब हम बात करेंगे समरी ऑफ ऑल एडिशंस ऑफ ऑर्गन ऑफ मेडिसिन। तो ऑर्गन ऑफ मेडिसिन फर्स्ट एडिशन published in 1810 at Torgau. Henneman was 55-year old at that time. Second edition, known as Augmented Edition, it was published in 1819. This published at Leipzig, and Henneman was 64. Third edition, known as Improved Edition, published in 1824 at Cothen. Henneman was 69 years old at that time. Fourth edition, known as Augmented and Improved Edition, it was published in 1829 at Cothen. Henneman was 74 years old at that time. Fifth edition, known as Augmented and Improved Edition, published in 1833. It published at Cothen, and Henneman was 78 years old at that time. So these were the all five editions. Now we will discuss about the sixth edition. It was published in 1921, but was completed in 1842 and was written on a copy of fifth edition by writing on margins, changing the sentences and pasting extra pages, etc. In Paris, Henneman was 87 years old at that time. इसके बाद है जो पॉइंट वो है ट्रांसलेशन ऑफ कॉलिन्स मटेरियल मेड का इन ईयर 1790, Henneman's एक्सपेरिमेंट विद सिंकोना बार। अब बात करेंगे प्रिकर्सर्स ऑफ ऑर्गनॉन। फर्स्ट है ऐसे ऑन ए न्यू प्रिंसिपल, इट वाज पब्लिश्ड इन 1796. Second, the medicine of experience, published in 1805. So these were the two precursors of main precursors of Organon. The first edition of Organon was published in 1810 and its title was Organon of Rational System of Medicine by Samuel Hahnemann. Organon der Rational in Helikunde. The first edition has no table of content. ये पॉइंट याद रखना है आपको। फर्स्ट एडिशन में नो टेबल ऑफ कंटेंट थी और सिक्स एडिशन में टेबल ऑफ कंटेंट को हटा दिया गया था बाय द पब्लिशर्स। Followed by the title is a motto from the poet Gellert, which may be translated as the truth we morals need us blessed to make and keep, the all-wise slightly covered over but did not bury deep. So this stanza was given in the first edition of Organon. The first edition consists of 259 aphorisms. The first edition was published from Torgau. The second edition was published in 1819 from Leipzig. The second edition, the title was changed to Organon of Medicine and the motto was changed to Adisaperi, which means dare to be wise. This was the motto from the Princess School. तो प्रिंसेस स्कूल का जो मोटो था वो अडसपेरी था, उसको डॉक्टर हैनीमैन ने सेकेंड एडिशन में डाला था in the place of Gellert's poem. The second edition has 318 aphorisms. Third edition published in 1824 from Cothen. It has 320 aphorisms. Fourth edition, published in 1829 from Cothen. It has 292 aphorisms. Fifth edition, published in 1833 from Cothen. It has 294 aphorisms. The fifth edition of Organon was translated to English by Dr. R. E. Durgan. Sixth edition was written in 1842 while Hahnemann was in Paris, but was published in 1921 only. Twice this manuscript of Hahnemann was in danger of being lost. ये याद रखिएगा, दो बार लॉस्ट होने की इसकी जो मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट है वो दो बार लॉस्ट होने की पॉसिबिलिटी थी. स्लेज ऑफ पेरिस इन द फ्रैंको पर्सियन वार, वर्ल्ड वार के टाइम पे ही था. तो पहला था पेरिस एंड फ्रांस की जो फ्रांस पर्सियन वार था in 1872-1871, and once in the military overrunning of Westphalia during the World War of 1914 to 1918. तो दो बार ये डेंजर रहा है, खतरा रहा है इसकी मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट के खोने का. डॉक्टर बोरेक was the main instrument for procuring this last medical manuscript of Hahnemann for the medical world. डॉक्टर बोरेक ने ही इस मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट को बचाया था और उन्होंने ही उसको बाद में पब्लिश किया था. The sixth edition was translated to English by Dr. William Borek and was published by Dr. Richard Hale. Richard Hale डॉक्टर Hahnemann के बायोग्राफर थे. An essay by Hahnemann titled Review of the Therapeutics, Allopathy and Palliative Treatment that have hitherto been practiced in the old school of medicine appeared first in the fourth edition. Now, in the first edition of the first aphorism is as follows. The physician has no higher object than to make sick man well, to cure as it is done. इसकी जो फर्स्ट एडिशन की जो फर्स्ट एप्होरिज्म थी वो ये थी. The note to it appears first in the second edition. The fifth aphorism appeared first in the fourth edition. The doctrine of vital force appeared first in the fifth edition. The corresponding aphorism to 26th aphorism in the first edition differs considerably from the present. It runs. Eternal universal law of nature that every disease is annihilated and cured by an artificial disease similar to it, which the appropriate remedy has a tendency to produce, depends on the maxim that only one single disease can exist in the body, hence one disease must absolutely yield to another. The modus operandi of homeopathic medicines appears in the fourth edition. Theory of chronic disease appears first time in the fourth edition. The note on isopathy is in aphorism 56 appears first time in the fifth edition. तो ये दो पॉइंट याद रखना है कि थ्योरी ऑफ क्रोनिक डिसीज फर्स्ट टाइम फोर्थ एडिशन में आई थी और आइसोपैथी पे नोट्स जो है वो फर्स्ट टाइम फिफ्थ एडिशन में आया था. The idea of artificially produced chronic diseases was introduced in the fifth edition, aphorism 74. The concept of non-febrile intermittent diseases was introduced in the fourth edition. Regarding the repetition of doses in the first four editions, Henneman has said the um, careful observer discovers the time for the repetition of the dose by the appearance of some slight traces of one and other original symptom of the old malady. Again, the preparation of medicines according to 50 millisimal scale was introduced in the sixth edition. The allusion to the employment of dilutions beyond the beyond the 30th occurs first in the fifth edition. Footnote एप्रोजम 287। तो 30 पोटेंसी से ऊपर की जो पोटेंसी है उनको अप्लाई करने की, उनकी एम्प्लॉयमेंट करने का जो डॉक्टर हेनीमैन ने लिखा है वो फिफ्थ एडिशन के फुटनोट एप्रोजम एप्रोजम 287 की फुटनोट में ये बात लिखी है। द फर्स्ट एडिशन concludes with a note relative to the employment of other than homeopathic remedies like evacuations, fatty matters, tannins, charcoal, chalk, alkalis, soap, sulfur, acids, etc. Mesmerism was introduced in third edition. Mesmerism third edition में दिया था। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स हैं जिनके बारे में हमने बताए हैं। अब हम ग्राउंड प्लान ऑफ ऑर्गेनन के बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे। व्हाट इज द ग्राउंड प्लान ऑफ ऑर्गेनन? ऑर्गेनन कैन बी डिवाइडेड इनटू टू पार्ट्स। फर्स्ट इज डॉक्ट्राइनल पार्ट फ्रॉम एफ्रोजम 1 to 70 एंड सेकेंड द प्रैक्टिकल पार्ट फ्रॉम एफ्रोजम 71 to 291। अब डॉक्ट्राइनल पार्ट के बारे में जानते हैं। इसमें द फिजिशियंस मिशन एफ्रोजम 1 to 2 में 1 and 2 में दिया गया है। रिक्विजिट नॉलेज ऑफ फिजिशियंस इन एफ्रोजम 3 and 4 में डिस्कस की गई हैं। नॉलेज ऑफ डिसीजेस एफ्रोजम 5 to 18 में डिस्कस की गई हैं। नॉलेज ऑफ ड्रग्स एफ्रोजम 19 to 21 में डिस्कस की गई है। एप्लीकेशन ऑफ ड्रग नॉलेज ऑफ डिसीजेस नॉलेज टू डिसीजेस और द डिसीज नॉलेज एफ्रोजम 22 to 27 में डिस्कस की गई। नॉलेज ऑफ हाउ टू चूज ए रेमेडी, द डिफरेंट मोड्स ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ रेमेडीज एंड द सुपीरियरिटी ऑफ होम्योपैथी ओवर अदर मोड्स ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट, ये एफ्रोजम 228 से एफ्रोजम 69 में दी गई है। लास्ट में समरी एफ्रोजम 70 में दी गई है। तो ये इसका डॉक्ट्राइन पार्ट था। अब हम बात करेंगे प्रैक्टिकल पार्ट। तो प्रैक्टिकल पार्ट में 3 टाइम ऑफ प्रैक्टिकल नॉलेज टू बी एक्वायर्ड बाय ए फिजिशियन, ये एफ्रोजम 71 में दिया गया है। हु इज टू बी नोन इन ऑर्डर टू क्योर द डिसीज, एफ्रोजम 72 से एफ्रोजम 104 में दिया गया है। हाउ टू एक्वायर नॉलेज ऑफ मेडिसिन्स, एफ्रोजम 105 to 145 में दिया गया है। द जुडिशियस एम्प्लॉयमेंट ऑफ मेडिसिन्स ऑफ क्योर ऑफ द डिसीजेस, एफ्रोजम 146 से 285 में दिया गया है। अब इसके जो अलग अलग सेक्शंस हैं वो हम बता रहे हैं। सिलेक्शन एंड मोड ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ रेमेडीज इन एफ्रोजम 46 to 171, one-sided diseases and their treatment given in aphorism 172 to 209. Mental diseases and their treatment is given under the aphorism 210 to 230. Intermittent diseases, their types and treatment are given in aphorism 231 to 244. Homeopathic posology and follow-up is given under the 200 aphorism 245 to 258. Diet and regimen are given in aphorism 259 to 263. Homeopathic pharmacy and dynamization of drug are given from 200 aphorism 264 to 271. Administration of medicines are given in aphorism 272 to 284. अब इसके बाद हम बात करेंगे कंप्लीमेंट्री मेथड्स ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट। ये 200 एफएम 285 से 291 में दिया गया है। अब इसमें क्या क्या है? इसमें है एक्सटर्नल एप्लीकेशंस, ये एफएम 285 में दी गई है। इलेक्ट्रिसिटी एंड गैल्वेनिज्म, ये एफएम 286 में दिया गया है। मैग्नेटिज्म ये 287 में दिया गया है। मस्मेरिज्म एफ्रोजम 288 से 289 में दिया गया है। मसाज ये एफ्रोजम 290 में दिया गया है। एंड लास्ट में वाटर बाथ ये एफ्रोजम 291 में दिया गया है। अभी हमने ग्राउंड प्लान ऑफ ऑर्गेनन के लिए एक चार्ट बनाया है, वो चार्ट आप लोगों को इसमें मिल जाएगा। इस चार्ट से देख के आप समझ सकते हैं कि कौन सी एफएम में क्या क्या दिया गया है और इसका जो ग्राउंड प्लान है वो क्या है, डॉक्ट्राइन पार्ट और प्रैक्टिकल पार्ट क्या क्या है, वो पूरा इसमें दिया गया है। इसके डिटेल हम आपको पहले बता चुके हैं, बाकी आप इस चार्ट को देख के और आसानी से पढ़ सकते हो। इसके बाद हमने कंपेरिजन ऑफ डिफरेंट एडिशंस ऑफ ऑर्गेनन ऑफ मेडिसिन भी दिए गए हैं। तो सभी जो है जो एडिशंस हैं वो उनके बारे में इसमें पूरा डिटेल में एक चार्ट बनाया है हमने, तो ये आपको आसान रहेगा समझने के लिए कि किस एडिशन में क्या दिया गया है और किस ईयर में वो पब्लिश हुआ, सब कुछ इसमें डिटेल में दिया गया है। ये चार्ट को आप लोग पढ़ सकते हैं। दिस इज वेरी यूजफुल to remember all the important points about the different editions of Organon. अब इन चार्ट्स को हम डिटेल में नहीं पढ़ेंगे क्योंकि ये चार्ट आप लोग स्वयं पढ़ सकते हैं। डिटेल में जो पढ़ाना था वो हमने पढ़ा दिया है। ये लेक्चर आज का यहीं समाप्त होता है। इस लेक्चर में हमने ऑर्गेनन के बारे में जो जो भी पॉइंट हो सकते थे सारे के सारे हमने प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन पेपर से कलेक्ट करके डाले हैं। कुछ पॉइंट हो सकते हैं जो नए ऐड हो गए हों या नए क्वेश्चंस बने हों, उनको भी हम ट्राई करेंगे ऐड करने के लिए। लेकिन अभी तक के जितने भी क्वेश्चन पेपर्स आए हैं वो सभी इन्हीं पॉइंटों में से आए हैं। तो ऑर्गेनन का ये जो नोट्स है ये आप लोगों को हमेशा अपने पास सेव रखना है और इसको पढ़ते रहना है। ऑर्गेनन में उसकी हिस्ट्री के बारे में और ऑर्गेनन के डिफरेंट एडिशंस के बारे में इसमें से कोई ना कोई क्वेश्चन पूछा जाएगा। सो thank you so much for joining this live session, and this is end of this second part of lecture for the different editions of Organon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good night.